Hey everybody, we're on camera. This one I've been working on for quite some time, and this video is dedicated to happy feet and their 12-year-old son, who is a Tesla investor. So there's a lot of nuances to this particular video. It might sound like hopium, but there's a big catch at the end, so make sure you wait for that. And again, a lot of thought went into this, and a lot of number crunching. And of course, it's not investment advice. I know it sounds ridiculous. How can something do a 16x in 10 years? Well, there is a concept called exponentiality, and this is what we're not covering in this disclaimer. But again, not financial advice. Who knows where things will go? Any company could go bankrupt. Bitcoin could go to zero. Tesla could go to zero. You never know what's going to happen. That's the danger of investing. That's why investing is always a blood sport. So the story is, again, it sounds crazy, but it's not. Let me prove to you why. First of all, let's talk about the Giga updates. Gigas are ramping, and there's going to be 2 or 3 more are going to be built in the very near future. Some have already broken ground that started. But if you look at the existing big factories, Fremont isn't truly a Giga factory. It's an old, I think, Toyota factory acquired by Tesla. And they managed to bundle it together. You got Shanghai on target to do 1 million cars this year. You got Texas and Berlin just beginning. Nevada making trucks. The new Giga Mexico is going to be making a high production vehicle. And again, you can see here, we are still early, kind of like Bitcoin. Let's talk about this big factory. This is the new Giga Blueprint. And this factory is built from the ground up to scale vehicle production like we have not seen since the times of Henry Ford. This will be a game changer. And that's what people have a tough time wrapping their heads around. A quick visual of the Gigas. Apparently, this is per Matthew Donegan Ryan. He believes Giga Mexico and another one will be built at the same time, which is stunning. Again, we saw Shanghai. Berlin and Austin are supposed to have more scale than Shanghai, and Shanghai's on target to do 1 million cars this year. It's insane. And people say, oh, they can't make so many cars. Well, just look at what they've done and what they're going to do. Forecasted out. That's what this is all about. Also, Austin, I think, Giga Austin is the biggest factory ever built in the history of the world. And it took a little bit more time than Shanghai, but they did build Giga Shanghai in 9 months. And that is stunning for its size. And people believe they can build Giga Mexico in less than a year and have it producing cars in a very short time after that. Also, Giga Mexico will be doing the Unboxed process of, I call it the Matchbox car process. And this itself is a revolution. You got front and back structural parts, which are pressed, stamped like a Matchbox car. You got a structural battery pack, or front and rear castings, I think they call them. Then structural battery pack in the middle, and everything just comes together in a flash. So let's talk about the 8 revenue lines that I believe are going to be big, some bigger than others, for the next 10 years or so. First of all, we have cars, then the semi-truck, then the van, the mysterious van that many believe is coming, then the Robotaxi, and it could be the same type of vehicle, by the way, the van, the Robotaxi could be similar, but probably not. Then energy storage. I've done dedicated videos on energy storage. Then the insurance business, the bots business, I've done dedicated videos on that too. And also solar and heat pump, which is kind of, I combine them together because they're both, depending on how you look at it, quite small as we go forward. I also have model ramps, which aren't fully updated for the van because I don't know where the van is going to begin. But basically, I don't see a problem them getting to 20 million cars. And the most important thing before we jump into all the numbers, and believe me, there's a lot of numbers, is how the TAM explodes the lower the price goes. Total addressable market. This is a cool little chart from ARK Invest. And if you cut the price in half, you explode your TAM by 17 times, 16.6 times approximately. But demand is a function of affordability and not desire. And this is how much demand increases with a small change in price. The lower you cut your price, the higher the total addressable market percentage goes. And some people believe as well, if you layer in something like FSD and a Robotaxi concept, you explode your market even bigger to more audiences you never had before because they can make a living from this vehicle. And that's what people have a tough time wrapping their heads around. So if they do nail the 25K car and layer in things like FSD, wow, game over. So let's talk about another thing as well. share dilution. You know, I look at token inflation and share dilution all the time. In this model, I assume these dilution levels over the next 10, 15 years, and it assumes 32% to stock dilution over the next 8 years. That is factored in here. I don't know if this is true or not. If they do a stock buyback, this could go in reverse. And again, that makes the numbers even bigger at the end of the day. So let's jump into model number one, or should I say line number one of 8 lines. This is cars, vehicles, whatever you want to call them. And this includes a whole bunch. So this is my model. Again, I've shared it before. Might be a little bit of an eye chart, but here we talk about how we get to about 19.86 million vehicles. Well, a couple of things to notice here, call it 20 million cars. You'll see the ASP, the average selling price, falls from 44K in 2023 all the way down to 32K. In fact, the ASP is a lot higher right now. The ASP for Tesla is about 55,000. But again, I sandbag, I squeeze it down just to make sure there's wiggle room. You have the total number of vehicles. I believe they'll do about 1.97 million vehicles in 2023 and 19.8 in 2030. The profit margin as well. I think they will surprise on the margin they make in the cars, 25%. But I think on average it'll go to 30% over time. And that gives you a contribution to Tesla stock price of about $1,603 by the year 2030. So that's the first component. So basically think in terms of, if we can get to $8,000, $1,600 will come from cars. Not very impressive, huh? Let's see what else we got. Number 2, semi-truck. Again, I've done a detailed video I'll put here on the semi-truck modeling and how it is justified. The math looks like this. Again, I see them ramping slowly from 5,000 trucks, 2023, and ramping bigger and faster over time. Nothing like what they do in cars, but again, these are a little bit different. And by 2030, they hopefully will do about 330,000 trucks. Some people think they can do a lot more, but the price of these trucks, again, some say they listed at 180,000, some say 250K, depending on the range. But I believe these things will justify and command a very high ASP because there's a lot of weird things happening in the world. First, cities are blocking trucks because of emissions, and then people need more drivers for these trucks because people don't want to drive trucks anymore. But when you have FSD in the truck as well, it'll make it a very attractive and safe value proposition for truck insurance and other cost savings across. But this, by 2030, will add about $568 to the price. Again, not that big compared to, add this two together, you get about $2,000 for cars and trucks. Now, van is the one that many people believe is coming, and include people like Hey Dave. So let's look at the van real quick. I haven't finished my modeling out of the van because there's so many unknowns. Many people believe they'll make 3 million vans. I only think they could do a million vans. So again, very heavily sandbagged. ASP is about $50,000, a lot less than a Mercedes Sprinter van. And there's your revenue. I believe it'll be a very high margin product as well. It could actually be made in Mexico. And again, this will contribute about $210 to the Tesla stock price. Again, we're about $2,200 now out of the 8,000. Where's all the other money coming from? So let's talk about Robotaxi. This one is big. A lot of people think it's never going to happen. Trust me, when you look at the new FSD, wow, it is so close. It is quite remarkable. Let's look at the Robotaxi model. Again, I go out to 2030. I don't have all the details yet because I don't know where it's going to be built, etc. And I can't judge. But again, many people believe it'll easily sell 5,000. And as a percentage of global taxis around the world, it's a very small amount. ASP, again, 50,000. And the margin, 65%. And the reason the margin is so high for this one is because we don't know if Tesla are going to keep the Robotaxi fleet for themselves and kind of lease them out and get more money and more margin. That's why I think this thing can definitely be a big cash generator. Even if the Robotaxi is like 30K, 40K, it can generate 100K a year if it's running a good chunk of the time. And that is what makes this very interesting. So again, I believe this could contribute about $1,366 to the share price. Let's talk about number 5, energy storage. Again, I've got another detailed video on the Megapack business here, so check it out. Let's jump in to look at that. Again, Megapack, I sandbag these numbers. They believe they can make 10,000 in Lathrop this year. I just have 8,000 for 2023. The ASP is $2.596 million on average, exactly right now. And I assume that'll grow over time because of dollar debasement and demand. These things are sold out till 2025. And at the end of the day, you've got about $1,922 added to the share price based on this model. Again, very, very high margin business. Now, the reason for this is like you may say, but hang on a second, cars don't add that much value to the business, with Megapack adds more. How is that possible? Well, Elon Musk has said multiple times he believes the energy storage business and the energy business in general could far exceed that of the car business. But there's more. Insurance, a really exciting one for all of you out there who like insurance. This one, again, I just have it out to 2030. I didn't spend much time on it because who cares? But I have looked at Tesla insurance myself. The prices are astounding as to how cheap they are. And again, they track the movement of the driver. They know everything about how your style is and if you speed or not or run away from cops. But I assume that about 1/5 of all customers will actually buy Tesla insurance because it's better and cheaper and there's no middleman, etc. And nobody can deny that cost. Like literally, it was less than half the price of the insurance carrier I was with for 15 years. Anyway, taking this, 4 million customers, ASP of $800 a year. And this could just be the US or wherever. I'm not sure how much car insurance is in different parts of the world. But again, assuming it's half of what people normally pay. Margin 30% because, yes, there will be accidents. It's not a high margin product. This will contribute a whopping $8 to Tesla's share price. So again, a nothing burger. But the reason Tesla offer insurance is to reduce the total cost of ownership for their drivers and customers. Make it sticky. Next, Optimus Bot. This is a big one. By the way, I've got another detailed video on Optimus Bot models I'll add here if you want to dig into it and how it all works. But this is, I was on with Farzad and him and I compared some numbers. So I have my bot numbers. Warren Ridley has his and Farzad has his. So I decided to kind of combine them all together and just give you some notes before we go into the actual numbers for 2030. But Warren believes the battery could cost $250 for a bot. I agree with that. He believes the manufacturing cost is about $5,000. I think it's more like $30,000. And Warren believes the ASP is about $100,000. I believe it's about $65,000. And Farzad thinks it's about $25,000 with about $15,000 cost. Now, the interesting thing is Warren believes they could sell 100 million units 10 years from now. I believe about 7.6 or actually a lot less. And Farzad 20 million. So either way, it's interesting to look at where this will all go. But if they nail this, and they will in time, we just don't know when, it will be a game changer. And you know the way I said energy will be bigger than the car business? Well, the bot business will be bigger than the energy business. Riddle me that. So this is the actual attribution model here. Bots, I do believe, they'll start slow in 2025 at about 25,000 bots, growing fast because they focus on building these things very, very quickly. And by 2030, they could have 7.8 million of them running around the place. ASP, I believe that'll be constant, about 63,000, which will stay flat over time. But technically, the price is going down because the dollar is debasing. And this will add about $2,284 to the share price. By the way, I forgot to mention, for all these models, I assume a price to earnings ratio of 35. But we'll talk about that as well in a minute towards the end. Let's talk about revenue line number 8, the final one. Then we get towards the summary and conclusions. And there's a big catch with this as well. This one includes solar, which is like solar roofs and stuff, and the heat pump, which is, when you dig into how many heat pumps there are in the world, it's quite remarkable. I think there's something like 200 million of them alone in the United States. But these are things that pull in the air from outside and cool it for air conditioning and such. And it can even be used for heating. And they have heat pumps within the cars that are revolutionary. But this assumes only a tiny penetration of 3% of the US heat pump market and a few 100,000 solar roofs by 2030 and an ASP of 15,000. Now, a solar roof could cost 30 grand. A heat pump could cost 10. So I created a blended average of $15,000. And that revenue there is about $90 billion, 30% margin because there's a lot of work that goes along with solar roofs and stuff like that. And this will contribute about $227 to Tesla's stock price. So not that exciting. So let's go and dig into the conclusions. And again, let me know if you don't like any of these things. First of all, it was Ivan on Tech that said this. He said, you can give price predictions, but don't give time. Good point. Here, I believe some of this could be achieved by 2030, but realistically, it could be 2032 or 2035. We don't know when. And Elon Musk admits he is sometimes overly optimistic about timelines. Okay, so first takeaway. Second, share dilution. I did assume 32% share dilution over 8 years. It could be a lot less if they do a stock buyback. It could actually be zero if Elon wants to bring it all back home and make up for some of the shares he had to sell to fund the Twitter acquisition, which he does regret. Also, I am sandbagging in many, many areas. I'm sandbagging predictions and numbers, etc. And I haven't not even included FSD revenue in this. That could be $10,000 to $15,000 of pure margin for at least 15 to 20% of the cars they sell. At least. Do the math on that and it's crazy. This is why I sandbag, to make sure there's wiggle room so we can at least meet our expectations. Again, I don't know if it's going to be 2030, 2032, 2035, but it'll be so interesting to watch. Next, what people have a tough time with is understanding exponential growth, hitting milestones in 2023. This is crazy. It took them 12 years to get to 1 million vehicles. Okay? It took them 7 months to get to the 4th million car. Exponential. Please wrap your heads around that. Very, very important. Also, big shout out to Hey Dave. And I love this chart that he put together. This is the other thing you've got to wrap your heads around. This is S-curves and how they are all colliding together at the same time. You have 4 technology adoption S-curves for Tesla. First one is EVs, and you've seen how disruptive that's been to the world and all the legacy automotive makers. Second, FSD Robotaxi. It's coming. I just don't know when. Will it be 2024? Will it be late 2023? Will it be 2025? I don't know, but probably going to fall within one of those 3 timeframes. And then third is energy. That business is huge and just growing. And fourth is AI robots. And we all know about how fast AI is progressing. Each successive S-curve happens to be much larger than the previous. And we're just getting started with the first. Wrap your heads around that, everybody. This is why this is such an important time to be alive. Next, let's talk about PE ratios. This is the share price per PE ratio. For this model, I assumed a PE of 35. And the reason I can assume that is because their growth rate will maintain at around 30 to 50%, even beyond 2030, because of all their product lines ramping up and the demand for the products and the margins. There'll be no other company on earth like it, in my opinion. But if you assume they have a PE of 15, markets go to hell, everything's really depressed, huge recession, that could happen. Then you have a $3,500 stock price. If it's a PE of 20, which it was right before Christmas or right after Christmas, I can't remember the exact date, the price would be $4,700. A PE of 30, $7,000 price. Again, PE of 35, what this model is based on, is $8,187.78. And if we go to PE of 40, if the market is juicy and frothy and investing, paying high multiples in high growth companies, you could have a $9,300 share price. All possible from all the numbers we just walked through. But there's more. Let's look at a breakdown, a quick summary of how all this works together. How is the 8187 share price generated? Vehicles on the left, just over $1,500. Your semi, about $500. Your van, again, if it's 3 million, you could take $500, but I think it'll be about $150. Robotaxi could be huge, $1,300 to $1,400. Megapack, the energy business, very large, nearly $2,000 per share. That business standalone. Insurance, a nothing burger. Solar pump, depending on how aggressively they go after it, that could be a huge business unto itself, but I sandbagged it very, very heavily. And bots, the elephant in the room, nearly $2,200 per share from the bots. Again, if Farzad and Warren Redley are correct, that number will be an awful lot bigger, especially if they lease them out or have some other creative model for how they would be used. Imagine a factory running a bot 24 hours a day, stopping for an hour to charge, once a day, and it's saving all the salaries, even in very, very emerging market countries. That will be worth a fortune. So think about that. In addition, this is the quick visual of the percentage. 20% from vehicles, 28% from bots, 23.5% from the Megapack, 16.7% for the Robotaxi. This is where I deviate from ARK Invest. They go very heavy in the Robotaxi. That's a huge part of their business. But not for me. I tend to go safe again. Sandbagged numbers. That's the crazy thing. Now, there is the bad news. Let me go back to the bad news before is everybody sitting down out there? This is the scary thing about where we are today, especially with the banking crisis and the money printing that's happening in the United States and that special QE that's not QE that's happening. Well, I do believe the US dollar will continue to debase with exploding deficits, money printing, etc. by 14% per year at least for the next 10 years. So, you get excited about an $8,000 share price? Well, the real today's purchasing power value of that is only $2,300 after debasement of 14% per year over 10 years. So that takes that to 2032. So that $8,000 in real terms is only $2,300. And that is, with 10x the stock price from here. Two final thoughts, everybody. And please like this content. Ton of work goes into it. And I hope you do. Especially if you're a Tesla fan, you'll be very excited. Sandy Monroe, a guru, he said, your shares will easily be worth $1,000 to $1,500 each. No problem in 3 years or less. They will make tons of money and Tesla will gobble the market. He used that word gobble, by the way, not me. And this is why I believe Tesla is the asymmetric bet of our lives. And final thought, if you want the model for this, all the other people with stuff, I share all my models on Patreon. This one will be posted, and plus 60 other models that can be found. And I will continually update it as well. It's a big monster Google sheet with all the different factors. And you can simulate your own. You can change your own PE ratio. You can whip out bots. You can add FSD. Do whatever you want to get a feel for it, to really understand, is this stock worth investing in? So hope you like the content. Again, a lot of work between me and the team goes behind the scenes. Hit the like, make sure people get out there so they can get some Tesla, which is actually up. I was watching it. It's up 2 cents in after hours markets, but we'll see what it does tomorrow. I doubt I have an impact, but it's fun to see anyway. So that is the story of 8 ways to $8,000 for Tesla. Thank you all, and a big shout out to Happy Feet and their son, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.